Picture this. You wake up one morning, filled with purpose. You've spent years consuming self-help books, motivational podcasts, and productivity seminars. You've mastered affirmations, visualization, and the art of hustle. You've been told that success is just a matter of mindset, that if you think positively, work relentlessly, and follow the right steps, you will win. And yet, something feels off. You notice the guru who sold you the dream of financial freedom now charges $10,000 for a weekend seminar. The influencer preaching authenticity carefully curates every post to manipulate engagement. The life coach who promised inner peace seems perpetually stressed, always selling the next program. A quiet realization creeps in. What if self-help isn't about empowerment, but control? This is the uncomfortable truth lurking beneath the glossy surface of personal development. The industry that claims to liberate you may be the very thing keeping you enslaved. Take the story of James, a disillusioned follower of a famous success coach. For years, he devoured every book, attended every workshop, and repeated mantras like scripture. He believed that if he just manifested hard enough, wealth and happiness would follow. But when he finally met his idol at a high-priced mastermind, he saw something unsettling. The guru, surrounded by sycophantic followers, spoke in vague platitudes, never concrete steps. His transformational advice was recycled from older, wiser thinkers, repackaged and sold at a premium. Worse, James noticed how the guru deliberately fostered dependency, convincing his audience that without his guidance, they would remain lost. James had stumbled upon Law 11 from the 48 Laws of Power: learn to keep people dependent on you. The self-help industry thrives on this very law. It doesn't want you to actually succeed, because then you wouldn't need it anymore. The cult of perpetual improvement. Now consider another paradox. Self-help preaches self-acceptance while simultaneously making you hate who you are. Every ad whispers, "You're not enough." Yet, every book implies, "You're broken, but fixable if you buy this." Every seminar declares, "You're one step away from greatness. Just take this next course." It's a brilliant psychological trap. By dangling the carrot of potential, the industry ensures you remain in a state of chronic dissatisfaction, always striving, never arriving. This is Law 28 in action. Enter action with boldness. The most successful gurus don't just sell advice, they sell a persona. They project unshakable confidence, making followers believe that they too can possess such certainty, if only they keep consuming. But beneath the surface, a darker question lingers. What if the pursuit of better is just a distraction from the real work? The work of questioning who set the standards in the first place. Here's the most insidious part. Even the rebellion is commodified. The moment you start questioning the system, a new wave of anti-gurus emerges, selling you the truth they don't want you to hear. But soon, their dissent becomes just another product. Their radical honesty is a carefully crafted brand. Their awakening comes with a membership fee. This is Law 34. Be royal in your own fashion. Act like a king to be treated like one. The most cunning players in the game don't follow the rules. They rewrite them and convince you that this time it's different. But is it? Or is it just another layer of the same manipulation? So we arrive at the heart of the dilemma. Can self-help ever truly free you? Or does it, by its very nature, turn enlightenment into just another transaction? The answer lies not in rejecting the pursuit of growth, but in recognizing when growth becomes a disguise for control. And that recognition begins with understanding the hidden psychology behind why we fall for it in the first place. There is a hunger in the human psyche, an ache for transformation so deep it borders on desperation. We crave the promise that we can be more, do more, escape more. This hunger is not accidental. It is the product of forces far older than any self-help book, forces that have shaped civilizations, toppled empires, and turned enlightenment into a commodity. To understand why we fall for the illusion of quick fixes, we must first understand the architects of that illusion. The Siren Song of Certainty. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "Hope is the worst of evils, for it prolongs the torment of man." His warning cuts to the core of the self-help paradox. The industry thrives on hope, not the kind that empowers, but the kind that addicts. It offers certainty in a world that is fundamentally uncertain. Think of the last time you heard a guru proclaim, "Follow these 5 steps, and your life will change forever." There is a seductive comfort in that simplicity. The human brain, wired to avoid ambiguity, clings to systems, rules, and formulas. We would rather follow a flawed script than face the terrifying truth: no one actually knows what they're doing. This is why the most successful self-help peddlers don't just sell advice, they sell a mythology. They position themselves as modern-day oracles, translating life's chaos into digestible commandments. But beneath the veneer of wisdom lies a far darker truth. They are not liberators, they are dealers, and their product is the illusion of control. The manufactured crisis. Jean-Paul Sartre observed that man is condemned to be free. His words reveal the cruel irony of personal development. True freedom is unbearable. It requires us to accept that we are responsible for our choices, our failures, our existence. Most would rather outsource that burden. Enter the self-help industry. It doesn't just sell solutions, it manufactures the problems. Before you can be sold the cure, you must be convinced you're sick. Before you can be told how to succeed, you must be convinced you are failing. This is the oldest trick in the book. Create the wound, then sell the bandage. Consider the rise of imposter syndrome as a cultural phenomenon. Once a niche psychological term, it is now a ubiquitous diagnosis, a label slapped onto the universal human experience of self-doubt. But who benefits from pathologizing normal insecurity? The coaches, the course creators, the influencers who position themselves as the antidote. This is not empowerment. It is psychological rent-seeking, the art of inventing a problem so you can charge people for the solution. The cult of the guru. Carl Jung warned of the dangers of the inflation of the ego through identification with the archetype of the wise old man. In simpler terms, when we project godlike wisdom onto flawed humans, we surrender our own judgment. This is the most insidious trap of all. The moment you place a guru on a pedestal, you grant them power over your mind. You stop questioning. You stop thinking. You trade autonomy for the warm, narcotic embrace of, "Just tell me what to do." History is littered with figures who exploited this weakness, from religious prophets to political demagogues to modern-day life coaches. The packaging changes, but the mechanism remains the same. Authority is not earned. It is assumed by those bold enough to claim it. Robert Greene's Law 27, play on people's need to believe to create a cult-like following, explains the playbook. The most effective manipulators don't just provide answers. They provide meaning. They frame themselves not as teachers, but as messiahs. And in a world starved for purpose, that is the most addictive drug of all. The fork in the road. Here lies the turning point. The moment you realize that the pursuit of self-improvement has led you not to freedom, but to a gilded cage. You have 2 choices. 1. Keep consuming. Keep buying the next book. the next course, the next promise. Keep handing your power to those who profit from your hunger. 2. Wake up. Recognize that no guru, no system, no mantra can replace the one thing that actually creates change: your own ruthless self-awareness. The path to true growth does not begin with another purchase. It begins with a question, one that the industry never wants you to ask. What if the only person you need to be saved from is the one selling salvation? The most dangerous lies are not those we reject, but those we swallow without noticing. They dissolve into our bloodstream, altering how we see ourselves, how we relate to others, and what we accept as truth. The self-help deception operates this way, not as a loud betrayal, but as a slow, silent rewiring of the mind. By the time you notice its effects, it's already too late. The erosion of critical thought. There is a particular kind of intellectual surrender that happens when someone becomes a true believer. You see it in the eyes of the devotee who nods along as their guru speaks in vague, unprovable platitudes. Energy flows where attention goes. You create your own reality. These statements sound profound, but they dissolve under the slightest scrutiny. Yet scrutiny never comes, because the real function of these phrases isn't to convey truth, it's to disable critical thinking. They act as linguistic narcotics, soothing the mind into passive acceptance. The more you repeat them, the more your brain stops demanding evidence, stops asking questions, stops resisting. This is how cults operate, not through force, but through the systematic dismantling of a person's ability to think independently. The self-help industry may not be a cult in the traditional sense, but it borrows the same psychological playbook. It replaces skepticism with dogma, doubt with certainty, and curiosity with compliance. The result? A generation of people who can recite affirmations but can't spot a logical fallacy, who chase high vibrations but can't articulate their own values, who invest in courses on abundance mindset but can't analyze a financial statement. This isn't enlightenment, it's intellectual disarmament. The commodification of relationships. When every interaction becomes a potential networking opportunity, when every conversation is evaluated for its value add, when friendships are assessed through the lens of alignment with your goals, something vital has been lost. The self-help ethos doesn't just infect how we see ourselves, it poisons how we connect with others. It turns people into avatars of utility, means to an end, stepping stones on the path to success. Consider the rise of strategic generosity, the idea that you should only help those who can help you in return. This is Law 2 from the 48 Laws of Power. Never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies, repackaged as personal development. It teaches people to view kindness as currency, to calculate the return on investment of compassion. But human beings are not stock portfolios. Relationships built on transactional logic are not relationships at all. They are temporary alliances of mutual exploitation. And the tragedy is that the people who play this game rarely realize they've become the very thing they sought to transcend: hollow, calculating, and utterly alone at the top. The paradox of the empowered slave. Here is the cruelest joke of all. The more fervently someone pursues self-mastery through the self-help lens, the more they become enslaved by it. You see it in the entrepreneur who preaches freedom while working 80-hour weeks to maintain the lifestyle that proves he's free. You see it in the wellness influencer who preaches self-love while obsessively tracking every calorie to fit the image of self-love she sells. You see it in the motivational speaker who lectures on authenticity while carefully scripting every spontaneous moment. They have, in their quest for liberation, constructed the perfect prison, one where the walls are made of mirrors, where the shackles are forged from their own aspirations, and where the lock can't be picked because they've been convinced it doesn't exist. The moment of clarity. There comes a point, if you're lucky, when the spell breaks. Maybe it's when you notice that the guru who preaches detachment owns 3 luxury homes. Maybe it's when you realize the life-changing system you paid for is just a repackaging of common sense you could have found in a 50-year-old book for free. Or maybe it's when you catch yourself judging a struggling friend for their limiting beliefs instead of offering real empathy. That moment is a gift, because it's the first step towards something the self-help industry can't sell you: genuine awakening. Not the kind that comes from affirmations or vision boards, but the kind that comes from looking directly at the machinery of manipulation and realizing you've been feeding yourself into it. The way out is not another method, not another guru, not another purchase. The way out is the one thing the industry never teaches you: how to stop needing it. This is the great taboo of self-improvement. The realization that true power begins not in accumulation, but in surrender. Not in adding more knowledge, but in burning away the illusions you've mistaken for wisdom. The first lie: that you are broken. Every manipulative system survives by convincing you that something inside you is wrong. Religion calls it sin. Consumerism calls it inadequacy. Self-help calls it limiting beliefs. The language changes, but the function remains identical: to make you feel incomplete so you'll keep coming back for completion. The rebellion starts when you ask one dangerous question: what if nothing is wrong with you? Not in some affirmational faux spiritual sense, but in the radical subversive sense that you were never meant to be fixed in the first place. That your anxieties, your contradictions, your so-called flaws are not obstacles to erase, but signals to decipher. This is the first unlearning. Reject the premise that you require external salvation. The second lie: that success has a formula. The most lucrative deception ever sold is the myth of the blueprint, the 10-step plan, the guaranteed system. Real life doesn't work that way. For every billionaire who woke up at 4 a.m., there's one who slept until noon. For every genius who followed the rules, there's a revolutionary who broke them. History's most transformative figures didn't succeed because they obeyed. They succeeded because they listened to something deeper than instructions. This doesn't mean discipline is worthless. It means blind adherence to someone else's formula is. The second unlearning is this: your path isn't in a book, it's in your bones. Stop looking for maps and start trusting your compass. The third lie: that you should always be growing. Here's a heresy: sometimes stagnation is sacred. The modern obsession with perpetual growth is a cancer on our psyches, our relationships, our planet. It turns every quiet moment into a guilt trip, every plateau into a failure. But nature understands balance. Forests don't grow endlessly upward. They grow, they rest, they decay, they renew. The oak tree doesn't chastise itself for not becoming a redwood. The third unlearning: you are allowed to simply exist, without metrics, without optimization, without turning your being into a perpetual self-improvement project. The real work that no one can sell you. Once the illusions are stripped away, what remains? Not emptiness, not some new age void, a self. Not the curated avatar you've been taught to manufacture, but the raw, unedited, contradictory human being you've been running from. This is where the real work begins. 1. Discernment over dogma. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. No system has a monopoly on truth. 2. Embodiment over consumption. Wisdom isn't in the knowing, it's in the living. Stop collecting insights and start integrating them. 3. Community over gurus. Seek peers, not prophets. Truth grows in dialogue, not discipleship. All of this leads to one final, explosive realization. What if the most powerful act isn't achieving more, but unshackling yourself from the need to? In 1927, a young Carl Jung did something radical. After years of studying under Freud, the father of modern psychology, he publicly broke away. Not over some petty dispute, but over a fundamental question. What if the path to wholeness isn't about fixing our neuroses, but listening to them? Freud saw the unconscious as a dark cellar full of repressed traumas to be cleaned out. Jung saw it as a vast ocean, sometimes stormy, yes, but teeming with intelligence, symbolism, and even guidance. His rebellion birthed analytical psychology and a startling idea. Sometimes what looks like brokenness is actually the psyche trying to heal itself. This is the great secret the self-help industry can never tell you. Your struggles aren't obstacles on the path, they are the path. A Japanese art collector once acquired an ancient ceramic vase, only to drop it on the way home. Heartbroken, he took the shattered pieces to a master of kintsugi, the art of golden repair. Instead of hiding the cracks, the artisan filled them with liquid gold, making the vase more breathtaking than before. The collector protested, "But it's broken." The master smiled, "No. Now it has a story." This is the ultimate inversion. What if your flaws aren't imperfections to erase, but sacred fractures where the light gets in? What if your so-called weaknesses are actually the places where your unique genius lives? The self-help industry makes billions convincing you to hate your cracks. True power comes from gilding them. The last word. When the Zen master Ikkyu was asked to summarize Buddhism, he wrote one character: attention. The student protested, "That's it?" Ikkyu picked up his brush again. This time he wrote, "Attention, attention." Frustrated, the student demanded, "What does attention even mean?" Ikkyu smiled and wrote one final time, "Attention means attention." This is where all the searching ends. Not in another technique, not in someone else's truth, but in the radical act of paying absolute attention to your own existence. The gurus will keep selling, the systems will keep multiplying, but you're free. Not because you found all the answers, but because you finally stopped believing they were ever lost.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope it was insightful and educative. If you like this video, do well to click like, share, and subscribe for more insightful videos like this. See you later. Bye.